Winter in Sonoma County occasionally brings lots of rain, filling up our streams and rivers, restoring our lakes and reservoirs, and renewing our creeks and ponds. The rain also fills up one of Sonoma County's rarest wetland habitats for endangered species, the vernal pool. Vernal pools are depressions in the ground where a hard underground layer prevents rainwater from draining downward into the subsoils. The Santa Rosa floodplain contains most of Sonoma County's vernal pools, with a few rare highland vernal pools in Annandale State Park. A world of interesting organisms can be found inside the vernal pools. Including this elusive dragon-looking creature. Resembling the axolotl, the endangered California tiger salamanders need our help. Not only do they face fierce competition from chorus frogs and beetles, but predation by masterfully still hunters like the egret and heron, wily coyotes searching for food, and even the occasional starving goose or duck. Not to mention their top predator, this ominous-looking water beetle larvae seen here biting a researcher's net. They also face something more deadly than any predator: our impact as humans on their environment. Sonoma State University has been doing its part to help out.
Hi, I'm Jessie Schmeg. I'm a biology graduate student with Sonoma State University, and I study the endangered California tiger salamander. California tiger salamanders have been pushed towards endangerment by a number of factors, but primarily by habitat destruction and fragmentation, because their native vernal pool habitats are very easily converted into urban and agricultural spaces. But they are also impacted by a number of other factors, such as drought and the introduction of fish and non-native predators, and predation from native predators as well. My study focuses on invertebrate predation on the larval California tiger salamanders before they metamorphose and emerge into the upland habitat as terrestrial adults. If you are interested in helping the California tiger salamanders, some ways that you can do so is, if you have seen them on your property or suspect that they might be there, contact the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, as well as other local authorities such as Dave Cook with the Sonoma County Water Agency. You can also make sure that if you have a pond on your property that is a ephemeral or temporary source of water, that you leave it as ephemeral and don't convert it into a permanent water source, and keep it fishless, as fish can have a huge impact on the breeding behavior of California tiger salamanders. Also ensuring that you do not eradicate small mammals such as pocket gophers and ground squirrels is essential, as the adults spend most of their time in the burrows of these small mammals, and so keeping them there can not only help with the populations of the California tiger salamanders, but other small species in the area as well. If you would like more information on California tiger salamanders or would like to be involved with any research that is going on, you can contact the biology department at Sonoma State University for more information.
As the temperature rises, winter turns to spring, and our vernal pools lose water as they fuel an explosion of grasses and flowers. These plants need our protection, as our impact has decimated over 90% of California's vernal pool wetland habitat from agricultural development, highway construction, and residential expansion. 137,000 acres of that 10% left has been lost since 1999 from erosion and pesticides. The golden, yellow, and white flowers that line the vernal pool include 3 endangered species that are home to a variety of insects, including this clumsy little black hoverfly. Endangered since 1991, this is Sonoma sunshine. As the sun comes out, the flower opens up and little white puffballs appear. The gentle solitary mining bee, attracted by the UV signal and flower scent, comes to gather pollen for larvae and drink nectar from the pistils. This hoverfly gathers nectar while it tries its best to look like a bee in a behavior known as Batesian mimicry, where a harmless species mimics the behavior and looks of a more dangerous adversary. Notice the coloring on its back and the shape, making a less careful observer think it could sting, but of course they are harmless. Tiny black carpet beetles play a huge role in the pollination of all 3 endangered vernal pool species. They can be seen by the careful observer here in our second endangered flower, Sebastopol meadowfoam. Endangered since 1979, due to urbanization in particular, this beautiful tiny white flower is endemic to only a narrow region within the Laguna de Santa Rosa floodplain. And to think the name meadowfoam comes from their once looking like sea foam covering the meadows. Mason bees, like the one seen here, and this bee fly perched atop our 3rd endangered flower carefully draw nectar with their proboscis mouth. Here, our friends the carpet beetles, looking like cows grazing or eyes staring back at us, drink from Burke's goldfields. Listed as critically endangered since 1991, some scientists are worried it will be extinct by 2025, with land developments already set to wipe out 35% of its northern range vernal pools. A few other endangered plants exist in Sonoma County's wetlands, including the once thought to be extinct many-flowered Navarisha and the beautiful Pitkin marsh lily. The folks at the Laguna de Santa Rosa Foundation have been working hard to help save these species.
Hi, my name is Ayla Mills. I'm the Nursery Program Manager at the Laguna de Santa Rosa Foundation. The Laguna de Santa Rosa Foundation is a nonprofit that specializes in habitat restoration, conservation, and environmental education. My job as the Nursery Program Manager is to grow native plants for our habitat restoration and conservation projects. My favorite project that I get to grow plants for is our endangered vernal pool species seed amplification projects. In this project, what we do is we take wild collected seeds from endangered vernal pool plants, and then we grow them here at the nursery, and then we put them in our hoop house once their roots are well developed in the plugs, and we grow them in raised beds that are lined with weed control fabric. And once the flowers develop into seeds, then the seeds drop on the weed control fabric, and then we're able to actually come through with a seed vacuum and very efficiently and effectively vacuum up the seeds. Once we have the seeds collected, which we've been able to produce thousands and sometimes even millions depending on the species, we then can reintroduce those seeds into vernal pool habitats in Sonoma County. Another conservation project that we are growing plants for is our milkweed project. The reason that we're doing this is that the monarch butterfly is in decline. Some of the reasons the monarch butterfly population has declined is due to habitat loss and pesticide use in the United States and Mexico. And what we can do to help is grow organic native milkweed and plant them in our yards and in the surrounding areas, in parks, in gardens, and farms. We've been growing over 6,000 milkweed the last 2 years to help expand monarch butterfly habitat with our partners, the Gold Ridge Resource Conservation District. They have been distributing the milkweed that we grow here in the nursery to school gardens, parks, and farms around Sonoma and Marin County. If you would like to get involved with helping endangered vernal pool species, then come volunteer with us at the Laguna Foundation.
As the pools dry up, a sad fate awaits any who haven't metamorphosed from the water to live on land as frogs, salamanders, and beetles. As the flowers and grasses dry up, they produce seeds where pollen has mixed with stamen. The seeds eventually fall or become eaten, then are deposited into the ground where they wait for the first rains of the winter. At this time, another endangered species can be seen, the California red-legged frog. Our local ecologist fills us in on the details.
My name is Jeff Wilcox. I'm the managing ecologist at the Mitsui Ranch Preserve. Threats to California red-legged frogs began with the gold rush. The methods used in the gold rush were destructive to the habitat on their own. And then following the gold rush, there was a human rush, and the increased population brought in a lot of farming. Farmers drained wetlands to use as farmland, and they also diverted water to irrigate crops. Those were all things that were deleterious to the California red-legged frog populations. In the meantime, or at the same time, humans developed an appetite for red-legged frogs, and by the turn of the 20th century, many of the red-legged frogs were reduced to the point that they weren't worth hunting for frog legs, which is what the people ate. So they imported bullfrogs from the East Coast. And bullfrogs, unfortunately, outcompete the red-legged frogs, the ones that were left, and they also directly predate them, so they eat them themselves. So these were the threats that took the populations way down. And then, of course, the population increase and humans settled all the areas between the agriculture and stopped communication between the red-legged frog populations. So then many of them became genetically isolated. Today, California red-legged frogs enjoy protections from federal agencies and from state agencies, and so anytime humans want to develop a place, it first has to be checked for the welfare and or integrity of any California red-legged frogs that might be extant in that area. And then they have to mitigate by providing habitat elsewhere if they're going to disturb that habitat. In addition, a lot of research funds have been directed toward red-legged frogs to find out what helps them in terms of creating new habitat and or adding to their population from outside populations in order to strengthen them genetically. So these are some of the things that are helping them. And also, I think that they've been brought to the attention of the public, and the public is now behind them and would like to restore those populations. The public can help just by raising their awareness and being aware of what things might affect frog populations, like pond draining. In addition, the creation of reservoirs, so creating water holding bodies or water storage where storage never occurred before, is something that the frogs will take readily to, so encouraging reservoir development. and not putting bullfrogs in, not introducing non-native fishes, which are also predatory to the frogs. Those are some of the things that will help the frogs. And also being careful going between water bodies because oftentimes humans can spread diseases unknowingly that affect frog populations.
We no longer eat red-legged frogs, and it would seem we've come a long way from the times of our ancestors plundering the environment for whatever we could get our hands on to fill our stomachs. But have we? In order to maximize crop yields, farmers have turned to pesticides, one of which has a devastating effect on our keystone species, the pollinators, bees and butterflies.
My name is Susan Kegley. I'm owner of Bees and Blooms Farm and principal scientist at Pesticide Research Institute, where we study the effects of pesticides, in particular on pollinators like bees and butterflies. We are concerned about a specific class of insecticides called neonicotinoids that are particularly toxic to pollinators. They have three characteristics that make them highly hazardous to pollinators. The first is that they are systemic, which means that they are taken up by the roots of the plant or through the leaves of the plant, and the pesticide is in the pollen and nectar that the pollinators eat. The second is that they are persistent. They last a very long time inside plants. And the third characteristic is that they are highly toxic. They are one of the most toxic pesticides to honeybees that have ever been made by industry. What can you do to help the pollinators? You can plant lots of plants, and it's very important that your plants are not treated with pesticides. Planting organic ornamental plants is one of the best ways to support your pollinator population. There are not very many nurseries that offer organic ornamental plants, and I would encourage all gardeners out there to search these nurseries out so that when you plant plants, you're not poisoning your pollinator population. One of the studies we did with Friends of the Earth was to look at neonicotinoid levels in ornamental plants from big box stores. And we found in 2014 that about 51% of those plants were contaminated with neonicotinoids. So human exposure is also an issue. These neonicotinoid insecticides are used on vegetables and fruits, most notably peppers, citrus, tomatoes, broccoli, lettuce, squash, lots of different vegetables. And you are being exposed by eating it, and it cannot be washed off because these pesticides are systemic, meaning they are taken up through the roots of the plant and expressed in the tissue of the plant, so it can't be washed off. You can limit your exposure to these chemicals by eating organic, buying organic and eating organic. Very important to support the organic industry and also support your own health. In summary, one of the things that you can do to make a difference for the pollinators is to plant lots of certified organic plants that you know will not be poisoning the bees and the butterflies. You can do this by purchasing through certified organic nurseries and also growing your own plants from seed.
For local bees and monarch butterflies, loss of habitat and use of pesticides are the causes of their population declines. The population of monarch butterflies in California has declined 99% since the 1990s, and 30% of the bee population has declined. Pollinators are cornerstone species, the extinction of which could cause collapse of our civilization and chain extinction of species, including humans. Neonicotinoid pesticides are thought to be responsible in colony collapse disorder. Studies have shown that in non-lethal doses, neonicotinoids cause navigation disruption and memory loss in bees and butterflies, even in low concentrations, sometimes resulting in dead colonies lining the beaches as they die, lost over the ocean. Please study up and do what you can to limit or eliminate these poisons from your community, and buy your plants from one of Laguna de Santa Rosa Foundation's organic native plant sales or other local organic plant stores, instead of large corporate stores that use pesticides. For more ways you can help, stick around until the end to see a list of local organizations you can join to volunteer, and make the world a better and safer place for endangered species. Thank you for watching a Sonoma Coast Films production.